Got the Cardinals and Dexter Fowler traveling to the Yanks to take on the Yankees in Ellsbury. Dan Schulman will have the call with analyst Jessica Mendoza, Aaron Boone, and, of course, Buster Olney beginning at 8 p.m. Baseball tonight, Sunday Night Countdown presented by Chevrolet. As always, we'll lead into the action, and you can definitely check out host Carl Ravitch, Ravi, and analyst Eduardo Perez, and ESPN's own reporter Tim Kurkjian, who's kind enough to join us for a couple moments. Tim, Rich Quinones in Jersey. How you been, pal?
Okay, Rich, how you doing?
I'm doing well. So it's a nice little capper of a 3-game set that we'll get on Sunday night between the Yanks and the Cardinals. We'll get into that in a moment. But, hey, listen, we're a week into the season. Take away right away your early season, your biggest surprise thus far.
Well, I'm really surprised the Blue Jays have been this bad. I didn't pick them, not like that matters, to make the playoffs this year because I just thought without Edwin Encarnacion in that lineup every day, that's just an enormous loss. And even though they have great depth of starting pitching, I just didn't see them being the dynamic offensive team that they've been. But they have been a terrible offensive team so far. And to be 1-8, that's pretty far back this early in the season.
Yeah, and I think conversely, and I look at the NL, I thought Colorado was going to be better. I'm a little shocked at their surprise. And then Arizona, 7-3 to start the season. So, we talk about the West. Everyone always thinks it's going to be the Dodgers and their pitching and the Giants. But good baseball thus far through 10 for Arizona and Colorado.
Yeah, I really like the Colorado lineup that I saw this spring. And then when Ian Desmond got hurt, they had some other injury issues. I backed off them a little bit as a playoff team, but they're going to be really dangerous once they get everybody healthy in that lineup. And Arizona has been basically the best offensive team in the National League so far, and I didn't see that coming either. But, boy, they have really put something together there as far as scoring runs go. And if, of course, Zach Greinke and Shelby Miller, and they can put that rotation together properly, there's always a surprise team somewhere. I'm not suggesting it's the Diamondbacks, but this is a pretty healthy start for them.
Yeah, and you look at players like Owens and Tomas and Jack Lamb, and I mentioned him the other day. I mean, every time you look up, he's getting a hit. It's amazing. He's got a 10, 11 RBIs already, 24, 25-something odd total bases. So that is a pleasant surprise. I mean, I think it's good to see teams that have struggled over the last several years. At least, we talk about this all the time, right, Tim? You can't win the pennant in April and May, but you can certainly lose it in April and May. So I always think it's important to get off to that good start.
Yeah, and keep in mind, only 2 teams have ever gone to the playoffs after a 1-8 start, like the Blue Jays are on. So, again, I think they'll right this. I think their starting pitching is going to get better. But you're right, you get off to a horrendous start, and that can really trickle down to the rest of your season.
I saw last night again with the Mets. I would think that's a game last night that the Mets probably don't win a couple years ago, and that was a gutty win for the Mets. And we knew the offense was going to be there. We really did. I thought even during spring training, when you just look at Cespedes, he's almost in that real nasty comfort zone, like we saw Rodriguez several years ago, especially going into the World Series, the Yankees and the Phillies, where he was so locked in. What are you seeing right now with Cespedes in that Mets lineup?
Well, his swing is really good right now, and his level of power is just ridiculous. I mean, he is so big, and he is so strong. And you just can't miss in the strike zone with as big and strong as he is and as hard as he swings. He's in a really good place, and it's so obvious that the Mets obviously are going to have to really pitch well to make the playoffs, but he is so important to their offense. We saw when he got traded over there a couple of years ago, they went from last in the league in runs scored to first in the league in runs scored after he showed up for like a 2-month period. And they go as he goes offensively, and you can't say that about too many other guys in Major League Baseball, that the lineup is so dependent on somebody like it is on Cespedes.
Tim, I don't know, and I made the analogy or the comparison when they made the trade for Cespedes a couple of years ago, and they had that deep run into the playoffs. It kind of harkened memories of Carlos Beltran. With the Royals and the Astros. He just kind of caught fire late in the season. And you're right. I mean, that offense lives and dies with Cespedes. But we know notoriously Granderson is a slow starter. I would love to see Conforto get more at-bats because I just think, I think it's his time right now.
Well, it's a difficult spot there with Bruce and Granderson and Cespedes. There's only so much room for so many guys, but we also know with the attrition rate in baseball, somebody's going to get hurt. They always do. And Conforto's going to get a chance to play if he keeps swinging the bat well. He had a great, at least beginning of the spring. I know when I saw him, everything he swung at, he hit hard. But he's in a tough spot, and this is what some young guys have to do. They have to go beat somebody out. But when the guys in front of you are making a lot of money and they have more service time, it's a tricky spot. But that will all even itself out. You can always use another hitter, especially when you're the Mets.
Yeah, that's true. They don't have to worry about the arms, but certainly with the bats. Again, ESPN's Tim Kurkjian joining us for a couple moments. Rich Quinones here. We'll take you up to 2 o'clock. The Phils are 3-6. I'm not saying panic button because we know they're rebuilding their young team, but the last thing this squad reads right now, this team to go on the road, get swept by Washington, get swept by the Mets, come back to Philadelphia and get ready to take on the likes of Chicago and the Dodgers, the Mets again. They're in a tough spot right now because you lose Buchholz. You have the issue with Gomez in the closer role. I don't even want to ask you the expectations of the Phillies, but do you think it'll be a long season for Philly?
I don't. I think it's going to be a difficult beginning of the season for exactly what you're talking about with the schedule they're playing. But everyone there knows what's going on. Everyone knows that you're going to lose some. They're going to lose more than some with a bunch of young players on the way up, which is a whole lot better than losing with a bunch of older players on the way down. So at least they're going in the right direction. I think they made, a really nice move forward last year with the way they played. And, it's tough to do that 2 years in a row, but I think they're capable of doing it. And I think the people in charge there know exactly what they're doing. Everyone in Philly has to stay patient, which we know is not their greatest strength.
No, it's not. And look, they were able to get away last year with the very competitive start because their starting rotation gave them 6 or 7. And then what happens, right? We started to see the arms got taxed, and then everything kind of fell by the wayside. You got the Yanks and the Cardinals, the final of a 3-game set on Sunday night. I actually, when I was looking at the scheduling again, and I looked right away, I was like, oh, Pineda is going to pitch. You talk about, to me, one of the biggest enigmas for the Yankees, and I think – in all baseball, he's got electric stuff at times, but you can't figure him out. Sometimes he'll give you a brilliant performance like we just saw, or other times he'll get raked over the coals in less than 4 or 5 innings. I mean, that's got to be frustrating if you're a Yankees fan to watch his kid pitch.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we were in Chicago the other night, and Joe Madden volunteered to Mark Teixeira and I. He said, "Did you see Pineda pitch?" And we said, yeah, it was unbelievably good. And for him to just unsolicited tell us how good Pineda threw the other day. Not even against the Cubs. He's just watching them on TV. He said, man, that was some nasty stuff there. But the problem with Pineda at his size, and he has to be in great shape in order to keep his stamina. And he's a pretty good athlete for a big guy, but he just is infuriating because he can go from that good and the next time out just not pitch very well at all. And this is what the Yankees have been putting up with now for several years.
And listen, the interesting, and you know this, the interesting thing about the Yankees is, right, their low water mark, if it's an 82-win season, that's not a good year for the Yankees. And I don't know, a lot of the pundits thought it was going to be a down year, but they've got so many young players. They got rid of the veterans. Are they going to be able to compete at all in the AL East, or is this Boston's division to run away with?
No, I think the Yankees are going to compete like they did the last 2 years. They made the playoffs 2 years ago. Miraculously, they hung in there last year. I just don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to contend. But they're also, like the Phillies, but in a much better position than the Phillies, building with all these young guys, and they're going to get really good after probably this year or the year after, certainly 2019, if the Yankees have a chance to be really good. And that's what this next year will be about. This year is making sure these guys continue to progress. So when the really good team comes about, the younger players are a little bit more experienced.
And we'll close it out on this. You mentioned they'll take on the Cardinals on Sunday. You look at that NL Central with the Reds 7-3, the Cubs obviously defending World Series champs. A lot of people believe that offense will be right there. They'll be fine come August, September, going into October. How about the Pittsburgh Pirates, right? You talk about I don't want to say a snake bitten, but just kind of tough luck because every time they get that one-game playoff, what happens? They run into great pitching. I mean, are the Pirates? Are we seeing kind of the decline of the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Well, yeah, I don't think they're the same team this year that they've been in recent years, and they took a step backwards last year. It's just hard after 3 or 4 really good years in a row to keep a club together because of the obvious financial constraints that they have. And I just think there are 6 better teams in the National League: the Mets and the Nationals, the Cardinals and the Cubs, and the Giants and the Dodgers. And I think that makes the Pirates the 7th best team, and that's a tough place to be when you got those teams in front of you.
Yeah, very tough division, very tough NL as well. All right, Tim, always appreciate it, pal. I know we're pressed for time. We'll look for you on Sunday night. Hopefully we can talk along the way. Enjoy the season.
Okay, Rich, thank you.
All right, you got it. Tim Kurkjian joining us for a couple of moments. And again, that's Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. You got the Cardinals and Fowler traveling to Yankee Stadium to take on the Yanks in Ellsbury. Dan Schulman will have the call along with analyst Jessica Mendoza, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney. I believe we'll have that game. Sunday Night Baseball 97.3 ESPN FM as well. You got the baseball tonight, Sunday Night Countdown presented by Chevrolet, and that'll lead into the action on the Tube at 7 p.m. with Ravi, Perez, and Timmy. So good stuff.